Welcome, and not just to you, but to a new colleague who joins Crimewatch tonight, Fiona Bruce. Since Jill's death, we've all been determined that we would take our time, that instead of trying to find someone who could fill Jill's shoes, which is impossible, we look for someone who could be themselves on Crimewatch, and here she is, Fiona.
Thanks, Nick. I'm very aware that I'm following on from someone who has a special place in this programme and who made a tremendous contribution to fighting crime. I'm certainly going to do my best. It's a great programme, and what makes it work is you, the fact that you care enough to try to help. Tonight, with new evidence, you might be able to unravel the oldest murder Crimewatch has ever tackled. It happened 22 years ago.
In fact, we start with a case that goes back almost 10 years, and it's one of the largest police inquiries of its sort running now, Operation Eagle. For nearly a decade, Bath has suffered a series of attacks on women, usually women who were just getting into or out of a car and were then abducted and raped. At least 11 attacks, maybe more, seem to be linked, and tonight we hope that you'll spot some small detail that will identify the culprit.
You're just in the wrong place, the wrong time.
The fact that he held something at my throat was enough for me to do as I was told. I was too concerned that he would cut my throat.
Help was down the end of the garden, but I couldn't get to it, and they didn't know what was going on.
The first attack we know about was southwest of the city centre, quite separate from the rapes that happened later. This is 9 years ago, off a street in Southdown.
I work a night shift. I'd left work early because I was feeling ill, and I was just parking the car in the garage to go down my back garden path home. I just thought it was some sort of wild practical joke, first of all. Then in my naivety, I thought he was trying to mug me, take my checkbook and money and what have you, and then I realised that wasn't what he was after. He threw me down on the ground by the garage and started to rip my clothes, and then he heard the noise, which still, to this day, I think it was a cat. And then he decided to bundle me in the car and drive off.
It seems an odd place to launch a sex attack, 2 a.m. on a deserted track at the back of houses. Maybe the man was a burglar and this was opportunist. Either way, he knew the area well. He drove his victim a short way out into the country to Coombe Hay Lane at the start of the Cotswold Way. This was the start of a pattern, ambushing women, driving them in their own cars, ripping the crotch of their tights, raping them, then getting them dressed and driving them home. 5 months later, the second known attack.
Come this way quickly. Be quiet.
This time, he was closer to the city centre, and in this case he ambushed a pedestrian. But again, there was his fetish with tights. When he found his victim wasn't wearing them, he produced a pair himself.
Put these on. Be careful, don't rip them.
His need was for him to rip the tights himself. Then nothing for 3 years. Was he in prison? Did he attack other victims who didn't go to the police?
Start the car. Start the car!
Late in 1994, he ambushed a woman as she parked her car in Bathwick, not far from the last known attack. He drove her in her car close to the university, into the grounds of the American Museum. As with the first known attack, he took the woman home.
Stay in the car for 5 minutes and don't call the police or I'll burn your house down.
Does he come back to retrieve his own car? Or how else does he get home? Then another gap, almost 2 years.
I won't hurt you. I haven't hurt you so far, have I?
This time he's in Bristol, quite close to Bath, and he's ambushed a driver at 3 a.m. What was he doing in Kingswood? Visiting to burgle, visiting friends, or was he staying here? He drove his victim's car straight to Mangotsfield and Carson's Copse. He seemed to know the way, but not the way back.
I'm going to lift your blindfold now. I want you to tell me where we are. Tell me how to get back to your house. And don't look at me.
Here in Bristol is the only time the man gets lost. And he left behind another clue. The blindfold, a pink elasticated headband. Had he borrowed it, and perhaps the tights, from you? A month later, and back in Bath, not far from the previous ambushes, it's an area where commuters leave their cars. And from now on, his attacks are in early evening. But this time, his intended victim locked the door. He made off, but half an hour later...
Let me have your money. Have you got a birth certificate or driving licence?
He often asks for money, but each time the motive is rape. On this occasion, his victim was only 16. But he seems to be opportunist, any age, any type of woman. 3 months on and 3 more attacks, though in each case his victims got away unscathed. Then 2 years before the next offence. Again, had he been in prison, in a new relationship, or did victims not go to the police?
Take your safety belts off. Don't move or I'll slash your face.
The rapist ran, but left behind a clue, a sun-faded baseball cap with the logo Batman Forever. 20 minutes later, and not far away.
I'd already rung to say that I was coming home because I had a mortgage advisor coming to the house. If I've got an appointment, I'm there. Not 1 minute late, I'm on time.
Move over.
It was just a matter of seconds. There was no way that even if I'd had a mobile phone that I could have rung anybody to save myself.
About once a week, my wife would pull up and then realise she'd forgotten to post the letters. She'd be there for a moment and then drive off, just like that night.
Are you going to kill me?
Shut up.
My head was working, but my body was floppy, as if it didn't belong to me. I had to try and remember everything. The guy had, I would say, quite a normal physique. He wasn't fat, and he certainly wasn't skinny or bony. He wasn't a hairy guy. Even though my head was squashed on his thigh, I couldn't smell washing powder or sweat. Really strange. Someone who was very well scrubbed. My car is really old. It does stall, and I couldn't get over how he drove the car as if he'd driven a Mini always.
Having taken his victim past Monkton Combe School, he changed his mind and turned around, now heading back into the country. After 15 minutes, he arrived back at the far side of the school. It's a remote spot often used by lovers, but in this case, it was rape.
When the car did stop, he put a blindfold over my eyes. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see down to see my toes. I didn't know what was going on. I was so scared, so frightened. Even when it was all happening, it's still the thought of, am I going to get away? I had a watch on, and because the interior light didn't work, he used my lighter to look at my watch. I thought he was going to set fire to me because I could feel the heat, and I could hear him flicking my lighter.
After the assault, he took a tiny road that even many locals barely know. Who do you know who's so familiar with Monkton Combe? As with the other attacks, the woman was taken home.
And I'm not going to let him change me and push me into a corner. Bastard.
Bill, you've so slight a description of this man. Who can help and how?
Although we've a vague description of this offender, we know he's white, he's 5'8" to 5'10", he's approximately 30 years of age. What we do know is about his sexual behaviour. We know about his fetish for tights, the fact he needs to rip the crotch. What I do is appeal to his wife, girlfriend, prostitute, has had an association with a man who's got a fetish for tights.
Is this just in the Bath area, or because of the gaps in that timetable you're suggesting it could be anywhere?
Although this man has got an exceptionally good knowledge of Bath, I appeal to women anywhere that's had an association with men who have a fetish for tights. Please contact us. We've seen the terrific ordeal that the victims have had to go through. Please contact us. We must stop this man before he attacks again.
What about other people, how can they help? Apart from this pattern, I know it's quite difficult to read this because there was such a long period. You see these huge gaps here, 92, 93, much of 94, gap in 95 again, and then here in 98. What's going on? How can other people help?
There's a possibility that he has attacked other women. If there's any of the viewers watching that feel that they may have been a victim, please contact us. You may hold vital information which may lead to the arrest of this man.
I suspect that the trouble is that if other women have been attacked, they've wanted to put this behind them. It's going to be very hard for them to call in now. They won't want to.
Indeed, but it's very important. We must catch this man before he strikes again. We have special counsellors available for them to talk to. What they tell us will be dealt with in the strictest confidence.
If a woman calls now and says, look, I think I was attacked by this man, or just frightened off by this man, or actually raped by them, will her partner get to hear about it? Will friends? I mean, will this get out to the public?
No, we will be treating what they tell us in the utmost confidence. I can assure them, if they phone in now, phone the incident room, ask to speak to a rape counsellor.
Now, what about a neighbour, a brother, an uncle, a mum, sister, somebody else who thinks, well, maybe, you know, somebody I know could do this? What piece of jigsaw could they put together?
We know this man carries a rape kit.
A rape kit?
A rape kit. We know he carries a knife, balaclava, baseball cap, headband.
This sort of stuff?
Indeed,
Yeah.
yes. And also tights. What I am appealing to is the man's father, mother, brother, sister. Someone that knows someone who carries these items. Contact us. We can eliminate anyone from this inquiry if they're not connected. But it's vital we catch this man. We really do need that call.
Well, there you have it. Please call with any information you can about a man from Bath who's been around for at least 10 years, has a fetish about tights. He's out late at night, remember in Kingswood in 1996, so most of it's around Bath. Maybe a burglar at some stage. I don't know, any suspicions, they really can be easily checked out. And please, as Bill says, don't assume somebody else will call with the right name. Our studio is 0500 600 600, or you can try the incident room direct. That's also a free phone number, 0800 169 1926. 0800 169 1926. If you've been a victim, please call us of this crime. If you've been a victim of any crime and you want to talk to someone who could just help you, there are volunteers now at Victim Support Line, and there'll be people there till 2 a.m. The number is 0845 30 30 900. Jeremy.
When I was growing up, people pulled back the net curtains. Nowadays, we have closed-circuit cameras instead. Now, here's a really cracking example. It's a robbery in the Alliance and Leicester Building Society in Southport on Merseyside 3 weeks ago. Now, these two, they're not the brightest pair. They haven't even noticed the camera, leaving us with some very good pictures. Now, I'm confident that someone will recognise them, and there's a big reward. The incident room is on 0151 777 3466. That's Liverpool, 777 3466.
Two more cowardly robbers who happened to meet two of the gutsiest shopkeepers. This is an off-licence in East London about a year ago. Now, the man on the right with the knife threatens the shop owner at the till, who trips the alarm and throws chili powder at his attackers. It gets too hot for the intruders in many ways, who take fright. The woman then gives chase. After a year, these two may think they've got away with it. Please help make sure they haven't and tell us who they are. 0500 600 600, or you can ring the local police on 0171 230 2061. That's 0171 230 2061.
Now, let's go back to an August bank holiday in 1977. That was the year of the Queen's Silver Jubilee. We're about to piece together clues from a murder, a case that's been reopened thanks to the progress in new DNA techniques. Mary Greggsson lived in Shipley in West Yorkshire with her husband and their young son. Their home was beside the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. And the policeman that you're about to see is one of the officers who worked on the case all those years ago.
Mary was my sister, my best friend. She took me to school for the first time, cried buckets when she had to leave me. We were very close. There's not been a day gone by in 22 years that I've not thought about Mary in happier times, but what caused her death? It doesn't go, it never goes. It seems a long time since I saw her. But a lot of things are very vivid. It's just like yesterday.
car then. See you at 7:30ish. Be good. I will. Bye.
We'd been locals. We never thought about the canal bank being lonely and dangerous place. It was a regular walk through childhood into adulthood.
You've done it all. You've broken every code.
I got to know Mary when I first got married and I went to live next door to her. Became friends and we stayed friends even when I moved away. She was working with me at Salts Mill. That was a meeting point on the canal side. And if I was there first, I'd wait, you know, watch, see if I could see her coming, or vice versa. Which is what I did that night. I stood and watched for her, and because she didn't appear.
Soon afterwards, another woman was also heading for work and had a disturbing encounter.
What's happened to that girl? What you do with her?
Nothing. She fell off the wall.
What's her name? Where she live? You know where girl lives?
House by the canal.
There are no houses there. What's your name? You want help? I get ambulance. Police.
I don't need nothing.
The witness heard Mary moan and remembers the man as in his early 20s with fair or light brown hair. Now, he'd be in his... By tragic irony, Mary's husband was cycling home along the towpath just out of sight of his wife and her attacker.
I won't.
On you go.
He was about, I should think about 5'9", 5'10". He had a long, thinnish face. His eyes were just piercing. They just held me, and they've held me ever since. And at his feet, lying straight out in a straight line, was a youth, I thought. I just thought it was extremely odd, but it never occurred to me that she was dead.
Susan?
Sorry to bother you, Bill, but I was wondering if Mary was okay.
Okay, but what do you mean? What's happened? She's with you, is she?
She never showed up for work, Bill. I just assumed she was feeling poorly. I waited for her at bridge, but there were no signs.
That night was horrendous. I never want to live another night like that. I didn't sleep. We just waited. I just sat in a chair in my bay window at home and waited and watched. The following morning, my husband had gone back out to resume searching, and he came back with a police officer. He'd witnessed my sister being brought out of the river. And that's when we realised what had happened. As time goes on, you still keep hoping, you never stop hoping that somebody's going to be caught. I want to know why somebody could attack somebody like Mary.
Now, Brian, this tragedy ripped this family apart, didn't it? Not only did Mary die, but a few years later, her husband died of a heart attack near the scene of the murder. Her son was then left an orphan. Now, we're 22 years on now. Realistically, what chance do you think you've got of finding the man who did it?
Well, we now have a DNA profile of the offender. And what this means is when we're eliminating or indeed implicating the suspect, all we have to do is take a mouth swab called a buccal swab. That's a very simple procedure. It's very quick, it only takes a few seconds, and it's totally safe.
Now, because of the DNA, it's not so much witnesses you're after now, is it? Because after 22 years, people's memories are going to be a bit shaky. It's names you want, isn't it?
That's right, yes. What I'm trying to do is reach everybody who may have lived and worked in Shipley in 1977 and have now moved on. I want to tell those people that we've reopened the investigation into Mary's death and ask them to contact us if they've got any idea at all as to who may have been responsible.
Now, the people that lived in that community in Shipley, is it the kind of community that the people who lived there then are likely to still be living there now?
No, not necessarily. For example, the John Lang's construction company and many other smaller subcontractors were building the headquarters of the Inland Revenue, and also there were many mills, engineering firms along the canal towpath that have now shut down and people have moved on.
Now, some people might think perhaps that after 22 years this matter should be laid to rest, but we heard from Mary's sister there, the family very much want to catch this man, don't they?
They certainly do, and the first point I'd like to make is that we never close a murder inquiry. If any new information ever comes to light, then it's investigated. We've also got a duty to Mary so that she can rest a little easier, and also to a family, the two sisters and a son. They need to know who killed their mother and the sister, and perhaps more importantly, why. And we've also got a duty to everybody else out there, because this man, if he's still alive, will only be in his 40s or his 50s, and he's still out there.
That's it, he's still out there and he needs to be caught. 22 years seems like a long time ago. It is a long time ago, but rack your brains. If you've even an inkling who might have been involved, call us. We can quickly rule them out if it's not the right person. The studio number is 0500 600 600, or call the Instant Room in Yorkshire on 01274 537 422. That's Bradford, 537 422.
A year ago, we appealed about a notorious murder, the death of Michael Menson. Michael, the son of a Ghanaian diplomat, was a quiet and gentle man who, in an extreme case of racist bullying, was attacked in the streets and set on fire. He died from dreadful injuries 2 weeks later, but police thought it was a case of suicide. His family campaigned ceaselessly for a proper inquiry, and his sister Essie and brother Kwesi appeared on Crimewatch along with DAC John Grieve. As a result, new evidence emerged, and last month at the Old Bailey, Mario Pereira was convicted of murder. Harry Charalambos Constantino was convicted of manslaughter. Ozge Chivat was found guilty of manslaughter in northern Cyprus. Hussein Abdullah was convicted of conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. John, you've gone out of your way to praise the role of Crimewatch in this. Actually, the truth is, there was extremely good police work on your part, among others, and of course the most important thing is the pivotal role of the family themselves.
Yes, you're right, Nick. The family were utterly pivotal in this case and totally unwavering in their search for justice. But if they were pivotal, it was Crimewatch that levered open the witnesses for us, that led us to the people who knew about this conspiracy and helped the detectives turn the information into evidence. Now, this was a good example of the family keeping this in the public eye and Crimewatch appealing to people to do their public duty. That's what broke this case.
You and your unit now, of course, consumed with this other and rather similar inquiry into the Lawrence case. How's that progressing then?
Well, this is a very positive inquiry. We will be seeking the help of you and your team here. Maybe next month, maybe the month after, I'll be back.
So things are happening there?
Yes.
John, thank you very much. Well, as the murder of Stephen Lawrence and the murder of Michael Menson shows, racism can so distort people's judgments. They do incredibly stupid things. Racism is deadly serious. So, take a look at these. These are written by an obsessive, a man so consumed by racial hatred that he has spent hours penning almost 100 poison letters to almost anyone he can think of. Do you recognise any of the handwriting? We know it's the same man, even though he's disguised his writing. 2 of the letters were posted in Munich, in southern Germany, in April and in September '98. What was he doing there? Was he working there, linking up with other racist groups, or what? He's been in Portsmouth too, and maybe he lives or works near Harrow in Middlesex. That's certainly where most of the letters come from. They are serious. Let's unearth this man tonight. 0500 600 600, or the police direct, please. 0171 230 4374. That's 0171 230 4374.
In my book, preying on the vulnerable is one of the most despicable crimes. We need to find this man who befriended a disabled gentleman who was on holiday in Torquay last summer. Have a listen to his voice taken from a different home video.
Turn it on again.
And again, turn around again. It's quite good. You can actually pick up that it's got holes in it. You can't see through this one.
He returned home with the party to Ramsgate and whilst pretending to care for one of them, stole his car and all his savings. Now he uses the names Mark Watson, Wilshire or Reynolds, but where is he tonight? The incident room is on 01843 222 148. That's Thanet 222 148.
This young woman tried to use 2 stolen credit cards in Tesco's in Wembley. Fortunately, she was rumbled but got away, and someone drove her off in a white saloon car with false number plates. Now that may mean that she's part of an organised gang. So who is she? If you know her, then please let us know. 0500 600 600 or 0181 733 3744. That's 0181 733 3744.
Gurmeet Singh Basra, known as Joe, a local shopkeeper in Auchinloch near Glasgow. He was the sort of man we'd all like to have running our local corner shop. For pensioners who couldn't get out, he'd deliver their groceries personally, and he'd never let anyone go hungry if they couldn't pay the bill. But just after Christmas, the 29th of December at around 6 o'clock, someone walked into his shop and shot him. Other than that, we don't know much more. How many people carried out the murder? What was the motive? What we do know is police want to trace a light-coloured vehicle driving erratically in the village that Wednesday evening. It may or may not be connected. Everyone in Auchinloch knew and liked Joe Basra. They really feel his loss. If you can help, call the Instant Room 0141 532 4462. That's Glasgow 532 4462.
Hobbsmoat Road in Solihull on a Tuesday. And shoppers were horrified when a man drew a revolver in the street and threatened to shoot people. His aim was to rob a van delivering cash. We've disguised some of the details at the request of the security firm.
I'd just come back from Solihull on my push bike when I stopped at the laundrette to speak to my mother.
Mum! Hello, love. I'm going to the supermarket. Do you want me to pick anything up for you?
Yes, could you pick me up some washing powder? I've just finished it. It's heavy for me to carry.
Yes, why? Move and you're dead. Drop it! Drop it! Move away!
I looked straight down the barrel of this gun and I looked back up into his face and he looked straight at me and I just thought he's going to shoot me now. He was in his mid-40s, suntanned, very dark eyes, and he had dark eyebrows, medium build, probably 5'7".
He's got a gun!
Go in, go in!
The man seemed to run awkwardly. He didn't particularly sprint off quickly, so perhaps he's got a limp or something, but he didn't seem to run very well.
I'm an off-duty police officer. There's an armed robbery in progress on the Hobbsmoat Road. I need an armed response vehicle.
10 minutes later, and a mile and a half away off Chelmscote Road, a resident saw a car that seemed to be on fire. When he reached it, he found red dust in the air, and the inside of the car was coated with red dye. The Rover turned out to have been stolen about a month before. That afternoon, 5 miles away off Peterbrook Road, a local heard a strange sound coming from the verge. And if you want to see hot money, these notes are typical of the money that's been stolen. Inside, actually, some of the notes might be fairly clean, but many of them will be like that, and most of them will at least have this red stain around the edges. And if anybody offers you cash like this, please let somebody know, the bank or the police or whatever. The gunman himself may have been drenched in this red dye, and certainly a second getaway car would have been badly stained on the inside. The pigment, I promise you, is very hard to remove. It smells horrible, but it really is very, very hard to get rid of this. The guy himself is in his 40s. He seemed very suntanned. He's shorter than average, and he had a local accent. Now, if you've any idea who he is, there's a sizable reward on this one, and The way that you can help maybe is if you saw that stolen car before the robbery. It was a red Rover 200 and it would have been parked up near Hobbs Moat Road for some time because the cash van was over an hour late. 0500 600 600 here to the studio, or the instant room on 0121 712 6010. That's Birmingham, 712 6010.
In July last year, a woman in Islington, North London, was given a video camera for her birthday. A nice present, and that night she practiced with it. Now, it just so happened that 3 men in the street below her were at that moment breaking into a BMW. Someone's pride and joy was systematically stripped out. Now, the whole community is suffering from a rash of these crimes. Please help to stop them and name these 3. 0171 421 0397. That's 0171 421 0397.
Now, 2 men we really do need to catch. They've got 3 robberies to their names and possibly even worse. Here we see them on Christmas Eve robbing a garage in Plaistow, East London. And then 2 weeks later, and they do 2 robberies in the same night. They've gone into this minicab office in Stratford and are taken to a housing estate near Elmer Road, where they pulled a knife and they've stolen the cabbie's takings. Not more than an hour later, and they turn up at a garage not far away. And notice the man at the back has changed his top, so maybe he's been home. Now he goes to hold the door open while the shorter tubby one snatches the money from the till. And then a fortnight ago, this man, Sukhdev Gill, was tragically murdered. 2 young men went into his convenience store in Stratford. Perhaps they planned to rob it, I don't know, but at any rate, they had a knife. And after a struggle, Mr. Gill was stabbed to death. Now, we don't have pictures from this scene, but these 2 men do fit the description. And whether or not they are Mr. Gill's killers, we need to find them. 0500 600 600. Or the incident room on 0171 275 4377. That's 0171 275 4377.
What we also hope to do tonight is to find out who murdered Michael Wheatley. We want to hear from anyone who saw him on a Saturday night back in October in East and Central London, or anyone who heard rumours about what happened to him. Michael was robbed while he walked home and was beaten and tied up. His abductors stole his cash cards and they threw him helpless, still tied up, into the canal at Limehouse Basin. Later, his car was stolen and his house was burgled. Peter, who exactly are you appealing to?
I'm appealing to anybody who saw or was with Michael between 4:30 p.m. on Saturday the 23rd of October last year and 3:20 a.m. the following morning. Now, Michael was gay and he may have been visiting gay pubs or clubs in either East or Central London. And just to jog people's memories, this was the weekend when the clocks went back.
Now, you've got some information already, but what do you still need to find out?
What I still need to know is who was Michael with between those hours in particular. Where had he been? Was he travelling home from a night out? And if he was, what route was he taking?
Now, you're pretty confident, aren't you, you're going to catch this man? You've got some very, or these men, you've got some very good leads already, and it was a truly callous murder. This man was tied up, thrown in the canal, and just left to drown.
Yes, Fiona, this was a very callous crime. Michael Wheatley was tied up, he was beaten, and he was left to drown in a canal. Now, I am very confident that police will solve this murder, and I would appeal directly to anybody that was concerned on the periphery of this crime to come forward and speak to police now.
Right, Peter, let's see what we can do tonight. Where was Michael that Saturday, the 23rd of October? His was a truly terrible death. If you know anything, ring 0500 600 600 or Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. That's 0800 555 111. Or the incident room on 0181 345 4356. That's 0181 345 4356.
In October, we appealed on a murder hunt for the whereabouts of Raymond Price. After seeing himself on Crimewatch, he gave himself up and was eliminated from the investigation. But separately, he's been jailed for 14 counts of deception, with 161 other offences taken into consideration. 16-month-old Daniel Grimshaw has still not been found, despite 6 men being charged with kidnap. But there's a new clue. After he was abducted, Daniel may have been taken to a hotel, and this is an appeal to hoteliers. These toiletries probably came from the place where Daniel was kept. Does your hotel use this brand? And back in November, did you have guests that included a 16-month-old boy, and an Asian woman in her 30s, 5'4", with long brown hair. Help reunite Daniel with his mum. One woman in particular has already been in touch twice. Please call again. Daniel deserves it. And you could get a £5,000 reward. As for the calls tonight, the great majority so far have been on a series of linked sex attacks, the rapes that have been going on in Bath, and one of them in Bristol over the last 10 years or so. Not only a big volume of calls, but actually really, really interesting stuff as well. We're appealing now to a woman who was in a phone box, who put the phone down to call us back. She was naming someone. We've so far had, it's now just gone up to 6 people who say that they are also victims of this man, and we've had 4 names put forward, so this is looking very promising indeed. Jeremy.
Some photos now with people to watch out for, and this is John Richard Bird, and we're looking for him and his father. They used to run a heavy plant company in North London, but when somebody upset them, they gave him such a beating that the victim may end up losing his leg. Now, John Bird is 6 foot with a heavy build. We haven't got a photo of his father, John Keith Bird, but he's sometimes known as Doodles. Now, they've both done a runner, and we need to find them. 01707 335500. That's Welwyn Garden City, 335500.
We also need to find this man. Aidan Gerard Phillips is 24, 6 foot tall with a Northern Ireland accent, and in fact he comes from Strabane. He's a bricklayer and moves around quite a bit. 6 years ago he was in Aberdeen when a woman claimed she was grabbed in a street and seriously sexually assaulted. Aidan Phillips was charged with attempted rape but was let out on bail and subsequently vanished. It was a terrible case and the file will stay open until he's found. The incident room is on 01224 386 119. That's Aberdeen 386 119.
About a year ago, 2 young lads in Wiltshire were badly injured in the street by a man wielding a 4-foot steel fence post. And as a result, this man, Christopher Michael Byrne, was charged with grievous bodily harm, but then he disappeared. He's 22, he has a West Country accent, but he's known to travel around the UK. And we believe he could be extremely dangerous. And if you see him, don't approach us, call us immediately. 01249 449787. That's Chippenham 449787.
If you recognise any of these 3 men, that's John Bird, Aidan Phillips and Christopher Byrne, call 0500 600 600 here in the studio.
Believe it or not, the money made out of stolen antiques is second only to the drugs trade, and it causes a lot of grief, as you all know, if you've ever had a burglary. Now's your chance to reunite some treasured possessions with their right owners. Eric Knowles went to Sussex to look over a massive haul put together by police. The objects could have been stolen from anywhere in the country. Do you recognise anything?
This really is like being at an antiques fair. There's a label on everything and a price on nothing. Now that's a nice little cabinet, mahogany, 1830, 1840, so maybe William IV or possibly early Victorian, and nice heavy sort of barley twist type supports there. And Mr. Punch, not looking too happy because he's gone and lost a hand, and quite recently I would have thought. Possibly Staffordshire, and what I like about this one is this cheeky monkey that's hiding underneath his seat. I have promised myself something like this, but the actual silver itself is not that old, although the engraving on there is actually an 18th century feature. But these, I can tell you, ain't 18th century. Here's the rest. Lots of it. Oh, I like that. That's a very rare and early Staffordshire figural group, and if I'm not mistaken, that's Romeo and Juliet. And that's one very nice 17th century Chinese teapot. Going to be worth in the region of £1,000. Oh, I like the leopard. He's not very old, but just beautifully, beautifully modelled. Lovely. I like that. This is a black glazed coffee pot of around about 1740 or thereabouts, and no, it's always sad the cover's been broken at some stage. Had it been in perfect condition, I would have seen that price somewhere in the region of around about £2,000. Oh, we've got a little bit more in the way of Chinese metalwork here. This is a Canton enamel jug and basin, dating from about 1840 or thereabouts. It's been through the wars, but it's nice and colourful. And also nice and colourful, and dating from about maybe 1840, 1850, this one, is a porcelain clock, floral encrusted. It's French, and it's probably by a man called Jacques Petit. And these flowers are beautifully modelled. The chances are you're not going to find that for less than £1,000 these days. And also French is a very nice work table. It's got a full gallery, it's got marquetry inlay, and although it's a little bit bleached, it's in Kingwood.
As you can see, a real treasure trove of different pieces. If any of that looks familiar, call the studio, 0500 600 600.
Being burgled is bad enough, but a couple of months ago, intruders burst into a house in Tooting in South London, threatening a family with a loaded pistol, this heavy crowbar, and this baton. Not surprisingly, the householder, his wife, and their 12-year-old daughter were absolutely petrified as the men ransacked their home. But this e-fit is said to be almost 100% like one of the offenders. Look at it. Who is he? And what have you heard about this, if anything? Has anyone offered you, too, a watch like this? It's called an Orient watch, and actually, look at the figures round there. It's Arabic numerals. 0500 600 600. These are very, very rare in this country. This was brought abroad, and this is what the guy looks like. 0181 247 8765. That's 0181 247 8765.
Please don't turn your back on these crimes. Some are more serious than others, but the effect on those involved or left behind can be devastating. With your help, though, we can do something about it. Our numbers are on CFAX, page 621. You can email us at crimewatchuk@the BBC, and on any case, call Crime Stoppers, anonymously if you want, on 0800 555 111.
Finally, a load of rubbish. These headlines, and not just these papers, lots of them published last week about a rise in violent crime, a shocking rise according to this headline. In fact, if you read the small print that came with the Home Office document at the new statistics, you'll find that the new figures include a whole range of minor crimes that were never counted before. You simply can't compare like with like. So the general trend of crime is still down. Join us for Crimewatch Update at 11:40, and if that's past your bedtime, see you next month, Tuesday, February the 22nd. Don't have nightmares from both of us. Good night.
Good night.